Let me show you what happens when the water you use to make pizza dough is too hot. I will try to let the yeast bloom by filling it with a pinch of sugar. There are many recipes that suggest using warm water to make the dough. Also, the instruction for using active dry yeast, those you find printed on the containers, mention to dissolve the yeast in warm water. I think that we can only benefit from defining warm in a clear way. Recommending a natural temperature would be even better. Now, granted that I only use water at room temperature, if for any reason you want to use warm water, then a great rule of thumb would be to aim for 36 degrees Celsius at most, so as to provide a nice, favorable environment for the yeast. Yeast thrives when the temperature is between 20 and 40 degrees Celsius, but the higher the temperature rises above 40 degrees, the more yeast cells begin to die, until they all die at some point, like you have seen in the little experiment at the beginning. That point is around 55 degrees, some say 50, some say 60. Let's say we should be wary of a danger zone rather than a precise, specific point of no return. To make sure that the temperature is around 36 degrees, you have two options. First, you get a probe thermometer, geeky maybe, but definitely easy and it's objective. Or you dunk your hand or your finger in the water, and if you can stay there comfortably for several seconds, then you're good to go. So the first essential thing you must do when you make pizza is to make sure that the water is not too hot. All the tips I'm giving you today relate to different and progressive stages of the baking process. We just considered the very first step before we even start. Once we get involved, next in line is the kneading process. I do it when I feel I'm done kneading and I want to make sure that I'm right. Kneading well is important. It's a premise for a good rise of our pizza dough because it serves an important purpose, that is to build gluten. Gluten is the complex protein that creates this beautiful network that traps the gas produced by the yeast over time and makes the dough puff up. Now, the poke test I mentioned is a simple and effective way to check how good this gluten network is. We gently poke the surface of our dough, we use a fingertip, and we want to see it bounce back promptly. It must be nice and elastic. If it doesn't, then we are not done kneading yet. And if you feel you have to work on your kneading skills, I got a video just for you in the upper right corner. The third essential thing you want to do is the poke test. Well, what, you already did the poke test? Yes, I did, but we're going to do it again. Only that this time, it will be in a later stage of the whole process. Now, we want to estimate if our dough is ready to stretch and bake, and although it takes place in the exact same way, the expected outcome is different. The test still involves a gentle push on the surface of the dough. If it slowly bounces back and leaves a light trace, then the dough is ready. The logic behind this is that because time has passed, the gluten is now weaker thanks to the chemistry unfolding inside the dough. But it hasn't reached its breaking point yet. In fact, it's still able to hold all the gas inside the dough. And the pressure of this gas is pushing the surface back to its original position. Now, all those geeky bits I mentioned so far about temperatures, gluten, rising, I'm sharing them because I like to back up what I say with baking science, which is great to know if you like to be aware of what you are actually doing. Of course, in this instance, I'm shared absolutely ground level concepts, but if you want to dig deeper into baking science, you should consider joining the channel and enjoy all the technical content. The fourth essential thing you want to do is stretch your pizza by hand. I know that this is a bit of a critical element and I appreciate it's not the easiest skill to master, but I won't give you tips and tricks about stretching right now because I got a good video for this where I explained and show clearly 3 techniques, so I don't want to repeat myself too much. Today, I'd rather emphasize how useful it is to learn this skill. Stretching the right way is important because we need our pizza base to be nice and even. Its thickness must be equal over the entire surface. In particular, we want to avoid those super thin spots, maybe where we pushed a little bit too hard, because those spots are weak, they are a risk. It's very easy to break or tear exactly that point when the pizza is already inside the oven, and I promise you don't want that. Now you might argue that you can get the job done with a rolling pin, but in my capacity as founder of the Rolling Pin Liberation Front, I'm here with a gentle reminder that using the rolling pin changes the texture of the pizza because it blows up all the bubbles of air and gas inside the dough. And they are what make the baked pizza soft and pleasant to bite. A little caveat here, and jokes aside, I say that the texture changes, not that it becomes worse. I appreciate that you might enjoy those changes. So you can use the rolling pin if you like a fuller texture, more compact if you want. If you like a crispy bite, and if you like this video, please hit the thumbs up now. The fifth essential thing you want to do is be wise with the toppings. When it comes to pizza toppings, I don't want to say less is more, but remember that the more ingredients you stuff on top of your base, the harder it will be for the heat to move through them and reach the dough, basically. This means undercooked pizza base, and even the toppings themselves might end up not fully cooked. It's the thing, I suggest focusing on balance and on spreading the toppings evenly. I reckon you often use tomato sauce on the base. My benchmark would be no more than 100 grams for a 12-inch pizza. Same for the mozzarella or whatever your main cheese is. Stick to 100 grams as a rule of thumb. If you really love your pizza fully loaded with toppings, you might consider partially or fully cooking some of them beforehand and adding them to your pizza later in the baking stage. Speaking of which, I have a bonus tip for you related to this stage, but before I share it with you, if you made it this far, please subscribe to the channel. It's a free way to reward my efforts and help me grow. So the bonus tip, the sixth essential thing you want to do is always preheat the oven long enough. Long enough is key here rather than just preheating. I want to give a few pointers to try and find the correct preheating time. The little control light on the panel that turns on when you switch on the oven gives us a good clue because it goes off once the thermostat will measure the temperature we set. This is when the heating elements inside the oven switch off. Basically they are on and off, on and off. They continue like this, typically for 45 to 60 minutes. After that, the oscillation becomes less and less wide, so to achieve a more constant temperature. And this is why very often more experienced bakers recommend to preheat the oven for 1 hour. If you ask me, I think that 1 hour could be a little too much because, at home, most of the time, we bake 1 pizza, maybe 2. Here's what I suggest. Turn on the oven, wait for the control light on the panel to go off, give it another 10 minutes or so, and then you can finally bake. By the way, I've got this full guide covering loads of aspects of using a regular kitchen oven to bake pizza.